So what is a CPI data report and how do you read it? What's going on, team? It's Ricky with Technical Solutions. Like I said in yesterday's video, I'm going to be breaking down and using last month's CPI data report as an example. So as we prepare for tomorrow, which is going to be on August 10th, 1 hour before the market opens, they're going to be releasing July's CPI data report. And I am going to be live streaming it here on my YouTube channel. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss out that live stream, first off, it's super early. It's 1 hour before the market opens. So just because everyone knows Eastern time, this report gets released at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. On my YouTube channel, I'm going to go live 15 minutes before this report gets released. So that means I'm going to be going live at 8:15 a.m. Eastern time, which is 5:15 a.m. Arizona time. So if you want to tune on into that live stream, it's a very significant CPI data report that should give us a closer look if inflation has actually peaked, and we're going to be capturing the market's reaction if it's positive or negative depending on how the report is released. So make sure that you guys not only drop a thumbs up on this video, but that you guys subscribe to the channel and turn on your post notifications, because if you don't, YouTube will not alert you that I'm actually going live. So let's go ahead and start sharing my screen so you can see exactly what it is that I'm looking at. Today, our Learn Plan Profit group absolutely killed it. We went into SQQQ during that pre-market session because the market was dropping going into that CPI data report, and we're up 4.5% so far on the day. Friendly reminder, that is just a day trade. I'm not going to be holding a very large position tomorrow right before the report is released. So first off, where do you get this CPI data report? A question that you should be asking. BLS.gov, which is the Bureau of Labor Statistics.gov, right? With that being said, this report is released once a month. And what it's here to tell us, right? It's the Consumer Price Index. That's what CPI is an acronym for. What you must understand is they release a report month after month. And all it's trying to capture is there's a thing called, core inflation, which is, in a sense, what can be influenced by the Federal Reserve by raising or dropping interest rates. And then there's things like food and energy that, regardless of how much they raise or drop interest rates, they cannot have an influence on the supply of food or the supply of energy, right? That's something that's out of their control. So this is how they've come up with core inflation. Now, in today's later video, I'm going to be talking about expectation for core inflation and expectation for overall inflation in that video. So make sure, again, that you guys subscribe if you guys haven't done so already. But this is the CPI data report that was released in July, but that reported June. So for those that don't know, the report that we're about to get tomorrow, August 10th, 2022, is actually the CPI data report from July, because the month has to complete itself and then they release it the month after. It's kind of like a phone bill, right? It's prorated. You experience it first and then you get the final report at the end with, what either experienced an increase or decrease in price month over month. And that's exactly how I want to break it down. We're going to be breaking this down in just a little bit. This looks super overwhelming. Ignore this for me right now. So ignore this up top for me and just focus on this. All this is the way that I view it is like an Excel sheet, right? All of these items are food. All of these items are energy. And then everything else falls under this category. And then it goes down the list. This is December. This is January, February, March, April, May, June. So what you'll see, and then this is the adjusted, gross of everything, right, on that line item. So if you go down the list, then you'll get 9.1. If you go down the list, then you'll get 10.4. What I want you to pay attention to is it's a month over month. So we're going to have July be added here. And then depending on the line item, food, did we see an increase or decrease in food cost or food price? And if we saw an increase, then the number should be positive. If we saw a decrease, then the number, like right on over here, right, negative 2.7, then we'll see a decrease. One of the big factors that a lot of people are trying to take into expectation or prepare for tomorrow is that, Oil has been on a consecutive 7-week streak of dropping in price. And if you didn't know, oil falls under energy, and energy is the largest contributor in this CPI data. Let me show this to you. You can see that even food, although it is a big influence, it's 9.1, 10.4, right at the final line item, right? Everything added for the past couple of months, it's 9.1, 10.4, 12.2. Once we get into energy, 41.6, 60.6, 59.9, 98.5. Those are huge numbers. And then going back down to course CPI. We go back to 7.2, 11.4, 7.1, 5.2. Do you see the overall weight, right? So like if there's a pie, this is how I like to picture it. If there's a big pie and it's a CPI pie, oil is like a huge chunk, right? Energy is a huge chunk of that pie, and then you have your little sliver of, apparel, and your little sliver of new vehicles, used car vehicles, right? Those are little pieces of the pie and what make up the 9.1% that we determined last month. And this is a good question that you should have. Well, how do you get 9.1%? How do you get up to that? So there's an exact formula, and I'm not going to be sharing the exact formula. I just like to get that general understanding, right? Because it's always adjusted. And they call it seasonal adjustment. And they got 9.1%. So how does this work? So how, when you see this report tomorrow, can you read it? Well, if you do the math very quickly, right? They have June 21 here and then June 22 here. So if you look across the board, they have a total of 13 months here. CPI is calculated in the past 12 months. So they just provide you the previous month that we dropped, that was 0.9, and the new month that we added, right, of 2022, and that's 1.3. So how and what is to be expected for tomorrow? They're going to add the month of July for 2022, and they're going to drop the month of July on over here, right? So we're going to remove these two, and we're just going to add the one. So most likely, if it comes in at a higher net increase month over month of 0.5, then we'll see an increase most likely in our CPI data, right? If we see that it was below 0.5, then again, because we're dropping 0.5 and then we're adding something less than that, then our adjusted gross CPI should be a little bit less. But again, there's an exact formula with how it is that it's actually calculated month over month. So please make sure that you take that into consideration, because if you actually add up all the numbers, I think we only get 9.1, not actually 9.0. Sorry, not 9.1. Because when you drop the month of June of last month, right, which was at 0.9, and then we add the 1.3, that's a net increase of 0.4, right? Simple math. You drop this one, you add this one. That's a net increase of 0.4. But if you remember, last month's CPI was, or before the 9.1 was reported, it was 8.6. So if you do 8.6 plus 0.4, you'd be at 9.0, not 9.1. So again, there's an exact formula if you want the exact CPI, but one thing that you must understand is that, once this report is released, the market reacts right away. It's like a natural gas report or any report or news article that is released. Markets react instantly. It's just good to understand how to read it. And that's why I'm making this video. So I just want for tomorrow for you to understand that once we add the month of July, you're still going to have July up here, but the actual overall math is from August moving forward. And then June won't be there because, again, we're already in the month of July. But yeah, that's pretty much it. What we're looking for is to show that inflation has finally peaked. And what that would mean is around, we would hope to see less than a 0.5 to 0.7% increase for the month of July of 2022. And that should at least put us below that CPI data of the 9.1%. But I guess I'll just talk about it in the next video. I read some pretty interesting articles, not just about overall expectation of CPI, but the concerns of core CPI and what's going on with that. But I just wanted to make sure that you understood what the whole purpose of CPI is. It's just to calculate the increase or decrease in prices month over month for consumer goods, right? So again, if you actually look down the list, there's the energy, there's the food, but then there's like medical care, there's apparel, there's used cars, new cars, commodities, transportation services, medical care services, shelter, all of these things that like the average consumer is most likely going to pay for. The CPI data just calculates month over month of like, hey, are we seeing an increase in price or a decrease in price month over month? Because if we're seeing an increase in price, then that means that inflation is going up. If we see a decrease in price, then that means that inflation is going down. And then they just provide it for us in this nice little report called the CPI data report, which is the Consumer Price Index. So I just wanted you to have an understanding of why it's so important. And friendly reminder, the only tool that the Federal Reserve has to moderate inflation is by raising or dropping interest rates. But I could even get into that in today's later video. But I just wanted to make sure that in preparation for tomorrow, 1 hour before the market opens, that you guys have a better understanding of what the expectations were or how it is that you should be able to understand how to read this based off of last month's CPI data. And then I'll make sure that with my following video, I make a good video on expectations that are set for this up and coming CPI data report. So again, all I literally ask you to do is make sure that you guys subscribe to the channel, drop a thumbs up on this video. I'm excited to host that live stream. I just want to make sure enough people show up. So if you can get this video to over 1,500 likes, that would really mean a lot to me, just to really encourage me to go live again 1.5 hours before the market opens tomorrow in preparation for that CPI data report. So again, I hope that earned your thumbs up. Please consider subscribing. Friendly reminder, if you want to learn a little bit more about my Learn Plan Prof group, feel free to message me and you can learn a little bit more about it with that second link down below. And if you have any questions, I try to make myself the most accessible as possible. So any questions about getting started, it could even be about the CPI data report, any questions whatsoever, send me a direct message via Discord, and that's that first link down below. I appreciate you guys' time, and like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.